A whisper from the mists of time. Long before empires rose and fell, before ink touched parchment and kings bore crowns, the Celts moved like rivers across the ancient world. They were not a single nation, but a constellation of kindred tribes, bound not by borders but by spirit. Their presence once stretched from the windswept coasts of Ireland and Scotland to the dense forests of Gaul, the alpine valleys of Austria, and even the highlands of Anatolia. They left few written words, but they left something far deeper, a spiritual imprint on the land itself. In every sacred grove, every river bend, every hill and hearthstone, echoes of their reverence for nature still hum beneath the surface of modern Europe. Theirs was a worldview where every tree had a soul, every stream a guardian, every storm a message. To walk the Celtic path is to reawaken to that primal harmony, to remember that we are not above nature, we are part of it.
Wow.
Who were the Celts? The word Celt, or Keltoi, as first recorded by the Greeks, refers to an ancient Indo-European cultural and linguistic group whose roots trace back to Central Europe around 1200 BCE. Their earliest known culture was the Hallstatt culture in what is now Austria, followed by the La Tène culture around 450 BCE, characterized by flowing artistic patterns, iron tools, and rich warrior graves. But what defined them was not just where they lived or what they made, it was how they lived. Celts were tribal, semi-nomadic peoples, deeply spiritual, with rich oral traditions, a warrior ethos, and a sacred relationship with the land. They viewed life as a cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, mirrored in the wheel of the seasons and the constant dance between this world and the next. Pagan at heart. Celtic spirituality was animistic. Everything was alive and sacred. Trees, animals, stones, rivers all had spirit and agency. They didn't worship gods above, but gods within. Deities who dwelled in the rivers, in trees, in dreams and omens. They practiced polytheism, but their gods were not faraway sky fathers. They were close. They were the Morrigan riding into battle on a crow's wing, Danu flowing as a river of life, Cernunnos watching from the heart of the forest, antlered and eternal. Celtic paganism was never codified like Roman religion or structured like modern dogma. It was experiential, personal, tribal, oral, enacted through story, rite, and seasonal celebration. The sacred flame and the hearth. At the heart of every Celtic home and village was a fire, literal and spiritual. The hearth was sacred, tended often by women or priestesses who embodied the goddess Brigid, patroness of healing, poetry, smithcraft, and flame. Fire was not just warmth, it was life, connection, memory. It carried prayers to the otherworld and protected the home from spirits that lurked beyond the veil. The Celts believed that the worlds of gods and mortals intertwined constantly, especially at liminal times like twilight, solstice, Samhain, or dawn. At these thresholds, magic surged and offerings were made. The veil between the worlds grew thin. One had to tread carefully or with reverent boldness. Tribal life and the spirit of the land. Each tribe, or tuath, was a family, but also a spiritual unit. It had its own gods, its sacred places, its totems and taboos. Druids and seers walked among the people, mediating between the natural and the supernatural. Warriors fought not only with swords but with sacred oaths, guided by omens and dreams. Trees were especially holy. The oak, ash, and yew were revered not just for their age, but for their connection to the worlds above, below, and within. Sacred groves, nematon, were temples without walls, places of initiation, judgment, worship, and vision. The land wasn't owned, it was communed with. It gave birth to the tribe, demanded respect, and punished neglect. Kings ruled only by the grace of the land, often symbolically marrying the earth in coronation rites. The Celts were not stagnant. They moved, traded, battled, and mingled. They flowed like rivers, carrying stories, customs, and magic across continents. Through time, their ways mingled with those of the Norse, the Romans, and finally Christianity, which both suppressed and absorbed Celtic traditions. But beneath the surface, their old ways endured, hidden in folktales, encoded in festivals, remembered in the bones of the earth and the wind in the trees. Today, when we light a fire at Beltane, whisper to the stones, or dream of a stag in the forest, we are remembering.
A living tradition. To walk the path of Celtic paganism today is to listen again.
To the heartbeat of the land, to the old myths, to the spaces between the seen and the unseen. It is not about copying the past, but reweaving the thread into ritual, into reverence, into daily sacredness. The roots of the Celts run deep, and they are calling. Time is not a line, but a circle, and life is a song sung in seasons, the spirit in all things. To the ancient Celts, the world was not made up of lifeless matter and separate objects. It was alive, all of it. Stones whispered, rivers remembered, trees dreamed. This is animism, the belief that spirit pervades everything. The Celts didn't merely believe in gods, they experienced them. In the shimmer of light on water, in the cry of a raven, in the hush of mist across a sacred hill. The divine was not only above, but within and all around. There was no need to build grand temples, for the world itself was a temple. The hilltops were places of vision, the rivers were the arms of goddesses, the woods were cathedrals of whispering wisdom. This worldview shaped every part of Celtic life, how they farmed, how they prayed, how they loved, fought, healed, and died. The spiral. One symbol appears over and over in Celtic art, stone carvings and jewellery. The spiral. It represents much more than just decoration. For the Celts, the spiral was the shape of life itself. It spoke of the eternal return, birth, death, and rebirth, the inner journey of soul and spirit, the interconnectedness of all things. To follow the spiral inward was to seek wisdom. To follow it outward was to walk the path of destiny. Spirals were engraved on stones at Newgrange in Ireland, carved on torques and cauldrons, and traced by druids in the air during ritual. The world itself was understood as spiraling and cyclical, never static, always flowing, transforming. Time as a living circle. Unlike modern Western thought, which sees time as a straight arrow from past to future, the Celts saw time as a circle, moving through repeating cycles of light and dark, life and decay, fullness and emptiness. This cyclical understanding formed the backbone of the Celtic calendar. 8 sacred festivals, marking the turning points of the year, days that began at dusk, not dawn, honouring the mystery of night, seasons that held both practical and spiritual meaning. For example, Samhain, Oct 31, marked death and the new year, when the veil was thin. Imbolc, Feb 1, celebrated returning light and new beginnings. Beltane, May 1, honoured fertility and fire. Lugnasadh, Aug 1, welcomed the first harvest. To live in harmony with these cycles was to live in rhythm with the divine. Life, death, and the other world. The Celts did not fear death as a final end. It was seen as a passage from one world into another, a transformation rather than a termination. The other world, sometimes called Tunanog, the land of youth, was not up in the sky, but woven through this one, accessible through caves, lakes, forests, or dreams. Time and space in the other world flowed differently. It was a place of beauty, wisdom, challenge, and spirit. Heroes journeyed there, druids drew power from it, and ancestors watched from its veiled borders. This belief made death less fearful and life more sacred. Each moment was part of a great spiral, one you would walk again and again, ever deeper, ever wiser. Kinship with nature. To the Celts, humans were not separate from animals or trees. We were kin, part of the same sacred family. Many Celtic myths feature humans transforming into animals, or animals guiding heroes through forests and into the other world. This wasn't metaphor, it was understanding. The stag, the raven, the boar, the wolf, the salmon, each had their power, their wisdom. They were not symbols, but living forces, spirit beings, guides. To hunt, to eat, to plant, to build, all required ritual permission, offerings, respect. There was no taking without giving, no using without honouring. This worldview is what we now call deep ecology, and it is needed now more than ever. The seen and unseen. Celtic life was lived between worlds. The seen world, of sun and soil, breath and bread. The unseen world, of spirit, fae, gods and shadows. But these worlds were not separate. They interpenetrated constantly. Every stream might house a goddess. Every dream might bring a message. Every stone might seal a bargain or a curse. To be truly awake, a Celt learned to see both worlds at once, to read omens, to listen to the wind, to feel what was unspoken, Children were taught to sense the sacred as naturally as they learned to walk. This is the Celtic way, to live in awareness, reverence, and relationship, the sacred within. Ultimately, the Celtic worldview was not about gods out there, but about spirit within all things, including you, your breath, your heartbeat, your intuition, your ancestry, all sacred, all part of the great spiral. To live as a Celt is to remember the land is your kin, your body is a temple, your life is a song in the great ancient music of the world. The Celts did not ask, what is the meaning of life? They lived as if life itself was the meaning. They are not far away, these gods. They are in the stone, in the breath, in the dream, the ever-present divine. The gods of the Celts are unlike the distant almighty deities of many later religions. These gods walk with the people. They laugh, rage, love, fight, shapeshift, die, and return. They are immanent, present within nature, not above it, and their power flows through every river, every hill, every flame. To the ancient Celts, the divine was personal, local, alive. Different tribes honoured different gods. Some deities were widely known, others were deeply rooted in a single sacred spring or grove, but all shared one thing. They were not beings separate from the world. They were the world in its most enchanted form.
The Great Mother.
At the very heart of the Celtic pantheon is Danu, also called Anu or Dana, the primordial mother goddess. From her came the gods known as the Tuatha Dé Danann, the people of the goddess Danu. She is the earth, the flowing river, the womb of all life. She is both nurturing and vast. She is the river that feeds the land and the mist that hides the mysteries. Her children, the gods, are manifestations of her endless creativity and power. To invoke Danu is to return to source, to feel yourself as part of the living earth, to drink from the well of being. Brigid flame inspiration. Brigid is one of the most beloved Celtic goddesses, revered as patroness of poetry, healing, and smithcraft, goddess of the hearth and the sacred flame, keeper of the well and of birth. She is a bridge between realms, between human and divine, between winter and spring. Her feast in bulk heralds renewal. Between the old pagan world and the Christian one, she was later sainted. Brigid's flame was kept burning by priestesses in Kildare for centuries. To honour her is to keep the inner fire alive, the flame of vision, warmth and transformation. Cernunnos, Lord of the Wild. With antlers of a stag seated cross-legged in meditation, Cernunnos is the mysterious horned god of the forest. He is the guardian of wild things, the masculine force in balance with nature. He is often shown holding a torque, symbol of nobility or sacred power, a serpent, symbol of wisdom and renewal, surrounded by animals, the stag, the wolf, the boar. Cernunnos embodies the cyclical power of life and death, virility, instinct and ancient knowing. He is not a hunter, but the spirit of the hunted and the wild. To walk with him is to walk barefoot in the forest of your soul.
The Morrigan Phantom Queen.
Shadowed and fierce, the Morrigan is the goddess of war, of fate and sovereignty. She appears as a woman cloaked in darkness or a raven flying over a battlefield. She does not bring chaos, she reveals it. She does not cause death, she honours it. She is a shapeshifter, a prophetess, a protector of land and sovereignty. In myth, she appears before battles to offer guidance or warning. She also offers transformation, for to face the Morrigan is to face one's shadow, one's truth, one's becoming. She is not feared by the wise, she is revered by those ready to change.
Look, the Bright One.
Luk is the god of light, skill, oaths and leadership. Called Lugh Lamfada, Lugh of the Long Arm, he is the warrior king, poet, craftsman and stormbringer, the master of all arts. His feast day, Lugnasadh, August 1, marks the first harvest and is a time of gratitude, celebration and offering. He is the ideal Celtic hero, gifted, just, brave and bound by honour. He reminds us that true strength lies not just in arms, but in artistry and service to the tribe. Other deities and local spirits. The Celtic world was full of gods, not always part of a fixed pantheon, but deeply rooted in local landscapes and needs. Epona, goddess of horses and freedom, worshipped across Gaul and Britain. Taranis, god of thunder, often symbolised by the wheel. Manannán mac Lir, god of the sea and guardian of the otherworld. Arawn, lord of the Welsh underworld. Annwn, Boan, spirit of the sacred river Boyne. Rhiannon, queen of horses and dreams connected to Fae and prophecy. Aine, goddess of summer, sovereignty and love. There were also river spirits, tree guardians, fairy queens and ancestral beings, each tied to a place, a purpose, a person. Celtic paganism was a living tapestry, woven from story, song and sacred geography, through archetype. While modern minds often crave lists and hierarchies, Celtic gods were not rigid figures with clear job descriptions. They were archetypes, living forces of nature and psyche. To study them is not just to know their names, but to recognize them within yourself. The fire of Brigid in your creativity, the wild heart of Sununus in your instincts, the shadow wisdom of the Morrigan in your fear and courage, the noble promise of Luch in your purpose. The gods were not worshipped in separation. They were mirrored in the soul of the people. Walking among the gods today, to honour the Celtic gods today, is to reawaken relationship. To light candles, whisper their names, walk the woods, tell their stories. They do not require temples, but they love offerings, a poem, a song, a bowl of milk, a moment of silence beneath a full moon. They are still here, still waiting, still listening. In the stillness of the forest, truth is spoken without words. Who were the Druids? To the outside world, the Druids were mysterious, feared by Roman conquerors, whispered about in foreign scrolls, and cloaked in sacred awe. But to the Celtic people, the Druids were the soul of the tribe, the link between heaven and earth, between nature and spirit, between the seen and unseen. The word druid is thought to come from the Proto-Celtic druid, meaning strong seer or oak knower. This is fitting, for the Druids were as enduring and wise as the mighty oak, whose roots reach both skyward and into the deep, hidden soil. They were priests and priestesses, judges and law-keepers, poets and philosophers, healers and herbalists, astronomers and dream-walkers. But above all, they were guardians of balance, transmitters of sacred memory, and vessels of deep living wisdom. The forest as temple. The Druids held no stone temples or scroll-laden sanctuaries. Their temples were the groves, sacred clearings beneath ancient oaks, ash and yews. These nemeton, as they were called, were not just meeting places. They were living sanctuaries where trees, spirits and stars could be felt as kin. There, rituals were performed, oaths were spoken, prophecies given, and the wheel of the year turned. Within the grove, the boundary between worlds thinned, and the voice of the divine could be heard rustling in the leaves.
Years of training, knowledge preserved in the mind. The path of the Druid was long and arduous.
Some say 19 to 20 years of training were required to become fully initiated. Why so long? Because the Celts passed down their sacred knowledge orally. Nothing was written. Everything was memorized. Genealogies of entire clans, laws of the tribe, the cycles of the stars and moon, plant lore and poisons, prayers, invocations and hymns, stories of gods, spirits, ancestors. Druids were living libraries, chosen for their memory, intuition, clarity, and depth of soul. Each one was shaped by initiation, mystery, and a deep connection to the natural world. The Druidic roles, there was no single type of Druid. Like branches of a sacred tree, their order split into three primary paths. 1. Bards, masters of story, song, and poetry. Preservers of lore, weavers of spells through verse, carriers of ancestral memory. Some bards were blind, seeing with the inner eye. 2. Ovates, seers, healers, and shamans, interpreters of omens, communicators with the dead, walkers between worlds, experts in herbs, plants, dreams, and prophecy. 3. Druids proper, philosophers, ritualists, and high priests, priestesses, performed major rites, maintained law and justice, advised kings and queens, balanced the tribe with the will of the gods and the land. Some walked all paths in one lifetime, others specialized, all were revered. Rituals and sacred duties. Druids officiated seasonal ceremonies, presided over initiation rites, and acted as mediators in matters both mystical and mundane. They read the flight of birds, the rising of stars, the whispers of dreams, the movement of the wind and water. They oversaw the lighting of sacred fires at Beltane, the cutting of mistletoe during the winter solstice, marriage and fertility rites, funerals and soul journeys, oaths of kingship and sovereignty. Rituals were precise and powerful, often requiring fasting, meditation, sacred geometry, and deep silence. Wisdom of the stars. Druids were also skilled astronomers and cosmologists. They tracked the phases of the moon, the solstices and equinoxes, the cross-quarter days between seasons. Stone circles like Newgrange, Callanish, and Stonehenge were aligned with celestial events. Though predating the Druids, these sites were maintained and revered by them. They believed that time was woven by the stars and that by aligning with these cosmic rhythms, humans could live in harmony with fate, nature, and spirit. The Druid and the law. Druids were not just mystical figures, they were guardians of justice. In a world without written laws, they were the interpreters of tribal ethics, dispute settlers, and peacemakers. Their word held more weight than kings. They could stop a battle simply by stepping between two armies and raising a staff. Their justice was restorative, not punitive, meant to restore balance rather than punish sin. They saw morality not in absolutes, but in relationship and reciprocity. The fall and the whispering return. The coming of Rome and then Christianity marked the slow fading of the Druidic orders. Temples were torn down, sacred groves cut, rites outlawed, and oral traditions lost to time or buried in secrecy. But the spirit of the Druids never truly died. It lingered in folk healers and herbalists, storytellers by firesides, poets and rebels, hidden rites under moonlight, and now in the heart of those who remember. In modern times, many walk the neo-Druidic path, inspired by ancient wisdom but shaped for today. Not to reenact the past, but to rekindle its light. Becoming Druidic today, you don't need a grove or a robe to live the Druid path. You need a reverence for the land, a listening heart, a mind open to story and silence, a life lived in balance with nature's rhythm. The Druid within you awakens whenever you honor the trees, speak poetry from your soul, heal with herbs, meditate in stillness, defend the voiceless, or simply walk the earth with sacred eyes. The flame still burns, the forest still speaks, and the grove is never far away. What the gods whisper cannot always be spoken, but it can be carved, woven, and carried. Why symbols and tools mattered? The ancient Celts were an oral people. They rarely wrote down laws, rituals, or myths. But they were far from unexpressed. Their world was full of symbols, carvings, talismans, and ritual objects, each imbued with spirit and meaning. For them, magic and mystery were not hidden in books, but lived in the land, in the art, and in the shapes that echoed the cycles of the world. Their sacred tools were not merely functional. They were extensions of the self, carriers of story, invitations for divine presence, containers of unseen energy. These tools helped align the inner world of the practitioner with the outer rhythms of nature and the otherworldly tides of spirit. Ogham, the whispering alphabet of trees. The Ogham, pronounced is a sacred Celtic alphabet, not just a way to write, but a language of trees, a divinatory system, and a ritual tool. Each letter, called a fid, is a single vertical line crossed by 1 to 5 shorter marks. There are 20 original Ogham symbols, each associated with a tree or plant, a sound, a mystical meaning. For example, Baith, birch, new beginnings, purification. Dwyr, to oak, strength, endurance, doorway. Neon, ash, connection between worlds. Rules, endings, transformation, protection. Druids and bards would carve Ogham on standing stones, wooden staves, amulets, their own skin in ritual times. Today, Ogham is used like runes for divination, meditation, and tree magic.
The Triskelion triple spiral of life.
The Triskelion, or Triskele, is one of the most iconic Celtic symbols. 3 spirals radiating from a common centre, or 3 legs spinning in unity. Its meanings are layered and many. Mind, body, spirit, land, sea, sky, birth, life, death, past, present, future, maiden, mother, crone. To the Celts, the number 3 was sacred, the number of harmony, of wholeness, of sacred balance. The Triskelion was carved into stones at Newgrange, Ireland, shields and jewellery, ritual objects and cloaks. It reminds us that life is not linear. It flows in cycles, in spirals, in sacred threes. Sacred knots, binding intention and spirit. Celtic art is full of interlacing knots, intricate lines with no beginning and no end. These knots were more than decoration. They were sacred patterns of intention. Knots held magic. They were used to bind wishes or prayers into cords, trap negative energy, then burn or bury it. Tie blessings into clothing, homes, or tools. Create protective charms or fertility spells. In some traditions, knots were tied into natural rope, and each one symbolized a sorrow or unwanted emotion. When the time came, the rope was burned, releasing the trapped energy back into the earth for cleansing. Alternatively, knots were charged with positive energy, cut into pieces, and tied around the home, one in every room, to anchor love, luck, health, and peace. Knots remind us that energy, when woven with care, becomes sacred space. Cauldrons, womb of transformation. Few objects are as spiritually potent in Celtic lore as the cauldron. It is more than a cooking vessel. It is the womb of the goddess, the source of rebirth, and the symbol of mystery. Famous cauldrons in Celtic myth: the cauldron of Ceridwen, which brewed wisdom and inspiration; the cauldron of Dagda, which never ran dry, feeding all who came; the cauldron of rebirth, into which slain warriors were placed to return again. In ritual, the cauldron represented feminine power, creation and transformation, the void from which all arises and returns. Modern practitioners use cauldrons to burn herbs or intentions, mix potions, meditate on the deep, dark waters of change. The cauldron invites us to surrender and transform, to be broken down and remade in the fire of the soul. Wands, staves, and spears. Though often associated with modern magic, wands and staffs were sacred to the Celts. They were seen as extensions of the will, conductors of energy, and walking companions on spiritual journeys. Wands were often made from rowan, hawthorn, or blackthorn, each carrying its own magic. Staves were used by druids in ritual, both as symbols of authority and conduits of power. Spears, such as the legendary Spear of Lugh, were tools of justice, clarity, and divine force. Each carried purpose. Each was treated with respect, naming, and dedication. The Celts also revered wells and chalices, representing the otherworld, healing, and feminine power. Torques, metal neck rings symbolizing divine status or spiritual initiation. Stones and crystals, natural carriers of energy, often used in healing and foresight. Cloaks and belts, ritually imbued with protection or transformation spells. Every item had spirit, nothing was just a thing. Everything was chosen, blessed, named, and honoured. Symbolism as sacred language. The Celts may not have left vast written scriptures, but they left a sacred visual language that continues to speak across time. Every twist, line, knot, and mark held meaning. To wear a symbol was to call in its energy, to carve it was to bless the land, to pass it down was to keep the old ways alive. You too can speak this silent language. You can wear the spiral, tie the knot, carve the ogam, stir your prayers into the cauldron. These are not relics of the past. They are living magic, waiting to be remembered. The earth turns, the veil thins, the fire rises, and again we are reborn. Time as a sacred circle. To the ancient Celts, time was not a straight line, but a sacred wheel, a spiral, a cycle, a rhythm that echoed the breath of the earth herself. The year was not divided into abstract months, but into living seasons, marked by sun, moon, harvest, fire, and the stirrings of land and spirit. Each spoke of the wheel was a threshold, a holy point in time when the veil thinned, magic stirred, and the world shifted. The Celts honoured 8 festivals across the year, 4 fire festivals and 4 solar festivals, forming what we now call the Wheel of the Year. Each spoke was a gate, and each gate a chance to realign with nature, honour spirit, and step deeper into the spiral of life. The 4 great Celtic fire festivals. These were the heartbeats of the Celtic year, rooted in earthly rhythm and spiritual significance. They marked liminal times, in between spaces where this world and the other world touched. 1. Samhain, October 31st, November 1. Theme, death, ancestors, the new year begins. Samhain, pronounced Samhain, was the Celtic New Year, the end and beginning of the Great Cycle. At Samhain, the veil between the worlds was thinnest, ancestors were welcomed home, fires were extinguished and rekindled with sacred flame, the harvest was complete and the dark time began. This was not a time of fear, but reverence. The dead were not seen as ghosts to avoid, but beloved kin to invite. Modern Echoes, Halloween, Day of the Dead. Imbolc, theme, new beginnings, hope, fire within. Imbolc marks the first stirrings of spring, when the seeds still sleep underground, but the light begins to return. Associated with the goddess Brigid, it was a time of purification and renewal, blessing of livestock and homes, lighting candles and hearth fires, the first signs of lambing and milk. It is the festival of potential, of light just beneath the snow, of inspiration awakening. Modern Echoes, Candlemas, Brigid's Day. 3. Beltane, theme, fertility, fire, union of earth and sky. Beltane celebrates life in full bloom, a feast of passion, fertility and sacred union. Bonfires were lit on sacred hills. Cattle and people were blessed by flame. Couples leapt over fires or spent the night in the woods. It was a time for hand fastings, flower crowns and wild joy. It honoured the sacred marriage between the god and goddess, between land and sun, between body and spirit. Modern Echoes, May Day, Lugnasad, August 1. Theme, first harvest, gratitude, sacrifice. Named after the god Lugnasad, honoured the first fruits of the harvest, the grain, the labour, the earth's bounty. It was a time of celebration and games, honouring of hard work and sacred sacrifice, bread baking, feasting and offering back to the land. It reminded the people that life is a gift and gratitude keeps the balance whole. Modern Echoes, Lammas. The 4 solar festivals. These are the quarter points of the solar year based on the position of the sun. Though not originally celebrated by all Celtic tribes in the same form, many later traditions wove them into the sacred rhythm. Now 5. Winter solstice, Yule around December 21. Theme, rebirth of the sun, hope in darkness, the longest night but also the return of light. The Celts honoured the rebirth of the sun god, the rekindling of fire and the promise of life returning. Customs included lighting Yule logs, decorating with evergreens, feasting in defiance of winter. It was a holy night of waiting, watching and welcoming the light. 6. Spring equinox, around March 21. Theme, balance, renewal, blossoming. Day and night are equal. The land begins to stir. This is the time of fertility magic, seed blessings and awakening the soil. A celebration of balance between dark and light, hope, planting and promise, returning birds, flowers and song. The egg was a symbol of potential, often honoured in spring rites. Summer solstice, Letha around June 21. Theme, light at its peak, celebration, strength. The longest day of the year. The sun god stands at full power. It is a time of vitality, growth and offering thanks. Fires were lit on hilltops. Herbs were gathered at their most potent. It is a high point, both a celebration and a turning as the light begins its slow decline. 8. Autumn equinox, Alban Elfed, around September 21. Theme, balance again, gratitude, letting go. Day and night are once more equal, but now the light fades, the second harvest is gathered, and the time of reflection begins. A time of thanksgiving and balance, letting go of what no longer serves, honouring the cycles of life and death. As the leaves fall, the soul begins to turn inward. The wheel as teacher, the wheel of the year is not just a calendar, it is a spiritual path, a mirror, a map of life. Each spoke invites you to reflect, act, celebrate, rest, reverence, renew. To walk the wheel is to live in harmony with nature's flow, honouring the sun, the land, the shadow and the light. It is to remember that you too are a seasonal being, meant to grow, shed, rest and rise again. Walking the wheel today, you can live the wheel in your own sacred way. Light a candle at each Sabbath, bless your food at harvest, rest more in winter, dance barefoot Beltane. Honour your ancestors at Samhain. Tend your inner fire at Imbolc. It is not about rules. It is about relationship with the land, with the stars, and with yourself. The wheel turns, and with it, so do you. Over and over again, growing, deepening, remembering next. To act with intention is to make the invisible visible. This is the heart of all magic. What is ritual in the Celtic way? To the ancient Celts, ritual was not performance. It was relationship between human and divine, land and sky, ancestor and unborn. Rituals were a way to honour the sacred cycles of the earth, commune with spirits, gods and the other world, mark transitions, birth, death, seasons, love, oaths, restore balance between seen and unseen forces. They were acts of power and beauty, grounded in earth but lifted by breath and fire. There were no bystanders, only participants, even if silent. All were woven into the rite. Sacred structure of a Celtic ritual. Though local customs varied, most Celtic rites followed a basic flow of energy. 1. Preparation. Fasting, cleansing, silence, gathering tools, offerings and attire, entering with intention and reverence. 2. Facing the cardinal directions or land, sea, sky triad, calling to the spirits of place, guardians and deities, lighting of a sacred fire or candle. 3. Core working, speaking prayers or chants, giving offerings, divination or storytelling, group or solitary magic such as healing, binding or blessing. 4. Closing and release, gratitude and formal farewell to all invited forces, quenching the fire or dispersing the elements, grounding and feasting. Each step was done with consciousness and connection. Even silence was part of the offering.
The sacred fire.
In Celtic rites, fire was central, not only a physical necessity, but a spiritual conduit. The fire was the voice of Brigid, the light of Lug, the soul of the sun, a living god and a messenger to the other world. Fires were used to cleanse and bless people, animals, tools, carry offerings in smoke, mark seasonal transitions, unite communities in shared warmth and focus. At Beltane, people and livestock passed between two fires for purification. At Samhain, hearths were extinguished and relit from a central sacred flame, renewing life itself. Offerings, the art of gift giving. The Celts did not ask the gods for favours without first offering something in return. This was not bribery, it was reciprocity, a sacred exchange of energy. Common offerings included bread, milk, honey, ale, herbs or flowers, hair or breath, poetry or song, water from sacred wells, personal items of emotional meaning. Offerings were placed at springs or rivers, buried in the earth, hung in trees, especially hawthorn or oak. Even tears or silence could be an offering if given with heart. Words as magic, the power of voice. To speak in ritual was to cast a spell. The Celts believed that words had power and that poetry, story and chant could summon spirits, heal illness, change weather, bless or curse. Bards were often blind because they saw not with eyes but with inner vision. Their voices shaped the world. Every druid learned the art of intonation, rhythm and sacred vibration. In ritual, participants might recite inherited invocations, speak spontaneous prayers, sing to the gods or land, use ogam or chanted names to open gates. Modern rituals might revive this through voice drumming, toning, or quiet intention. Herbs, waters, and earth tools. The Celtic ritualist worked in harmony with natural tools, each chosen for its spirit. Rowan, protection, psychic strength. Mugwort, dreams and otherworld journeys. Elder, passage and endings, death and resurrection. Oak, truth, sovereignty, and wisdom. Water from sacred wells was used to anoint, to bless, or to gaze into. Stones were used to anchor intention, and herbs were burned, worn, steeped, or whispered over. Nothing was used without consent from the land. Practitioners would ask permission, thank the spirit, and return the remains to the soil after use. Knot magic and ritual binding. Knots were used to trap illness or pain in cords, bind lovers or oaths in sacred handfasting, tether positive energy to a place. One powerful rite involved tying natural rope with sorrows, fears, or negativity then burning it to release those emotions. Alternatively, the rope could be knotted with wishes and dreams, then cut into pieces and tied throughout the home, blessing each space. To tie a knot in ritual was to set energy in motion, to fix it into form until it could transform. Rituals of passage. The Celts honoured thresholds as sacred, liminal spaces where one thing becomes another. These were ideal moments for rites of passage. Birth rituals with blessings for soul and body, naming ceremonies with ancestral invocation, coming-of-age rites that marked entry into adult roles, hand fastings to unite lovers for a year, a lifetime, or a season, death rites to guide the soul into the other world with song, tears, and fire. Each was marked not by show, but by depth, community, and alignment with spirit.
Ritual today.
Sacred action in the everyday. You don't need a circle of druids to do ritual. You only need intention, presence, respect for the land and spirit. A bath can become a cleansing rite. Lighting a candle can become a devotional act. Speaking your pain or joy aloud beneath the moon can become prayer. The Celtic way does not demand perfection, only authentic relationship with the unseen. Your breath is an offering. Your hands are sacred tools. Your voice is a spell. The roots are ancient, but the tree is still growing. Why the Celtic path still lives. Though empires rose and fell, though scrolls were burned and groves were cut, the Celtic spirit never died. It whispered in folklore, sang through lullabies, and lingered in the stones and stars. Today, a growing number of people feel called back to these old ways, not as historians, but as spiritual seekers. Why? Because Celtic spirituality offers connection to land, ancestry, and spirit, freedom, no rigid dogma, only deep presence, beauty, poetry, ritual, story, and nature as temple, belonging to a rhythm, to a people, to something beyond words. It is not about escaping the modern world, but remembering how to live soulfully within it. Core values of the living Celtic path. Though modern expressions vary, most practitioners are guided by these core Celtic principles. 1. Immanence. Spirit is everywhere. Divinity is not locked in the heavens. It lives in the trees, the rivers, the fire, the breath. Every stone, every storm, every living being carries a spark of the other world. To walk this path is to see the sacred in all things, to pray with your feet, your hands, your whole being. 2. Cycles and spiral time. The world is not linear. It moves in spirals. Day becomes night, becomes day. Death becomes birth, becomes death. You are not failing, you are turning. Living the wheel of the year helps us stay in rhythm with nature and ourselves. Land and ancestors. The land is not scenery, it is kin. The ancestors are not gone, they are with you, guiding, witnessing. Modern Celtic practice honours sacred sites, stone circles, wells, old groves, family history and DNA, the land you live on now, even if it's not Celtic soil. 4. Heart-led ritual and living magic. There are no popes in Celtic spirituality. You are the priestess, the bard, the seer. Your daily acts, lighting a candle, whispering to a tree, stirring herbs into tea, can become ritual. Your dreams, visions, and intuitions are valid. They are part of the work. 5. Respect for mystery. Not everything must be explained. Not all truth fits in language. The Celts embraced paradox, story, and not knowing. They trusted the unseen. Modern practitioners often use dream work and trance journeys, symbolic interpretation, personal gnosis, truths received through intuition. Modern practices rooted in ancient ways. There is no single correct modern Celtic path. It's a living tradition, evolving through personal and collective devotion. But here are common practices among today's Celtic-inspired seekers. 1. Following the wheel of the year. Many light candles, build altars, hold feasts or walk in nature on Samhain, Imbolc, Beltane, Lugnasad, solstices and equinoxes. These rites can be solitary, familial or community-based. 2. Tree magic and Ogham use. Trees are honoured as elders and guides. Many keep a tree journal, sit beneath trees, or work with Ogham staves for divination, meditation, spell work. Rowan for protection, birch for new beginnings, yew for spirit contact. 3. Ancestral reverence. Altars may hold photographs, names of ancestors, cups of water or favourite foods, prayers to heal ancestral wounds and reclaim gifts. This is not ancestor worship, it's ancestral healing and partnership. 4. Poetry, music and storytelling. The bardic arts are alive. Many modern practitioners speak invocations, sing in ritual, write mythic poetry, use sound as sacred offering. You don't need to be perfect, just true. Let the heart sing. 5. Elemental and land-based magic. Working with fire, transformation, passion, water, emotion, intuition, air, thought, breath, clarity, earth, stability, ancestry, protection. Spells and offerings are often tied to the land and weather, not forced, but flowing with the natural world. Modern druidry and Celtic paganism. Some modern spiritual paths rooted in Celtic ways include Obod, Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids, a widely respected group offering study in druidic wisdom. Orochfain ADF, a reconstructionist druid path rooted in scholarly and spiritual practice. Celtic Reconstructionism, a more historically focused path honouring cultural accuracy and ancestral lineages. Solitary or eclectic practitioners, those who follow the Celtic path in their own personal way. Each honours the old ways with heart, mind and rooted practice. How to begin or deepen your path. You need a label to walk this way. You just need curiosity, reverence, listening, a willingness to begin again each day. Here are small steps to deepen your modern Celtic path. Walk your land as a sacred being. Ask its name. Light a fire or candle with intention. Follow the moon. Speak to her. Learn one tree deeply. Create an altar that evolves with the seasons. Learn a Celtic word, story or song. Speak to your ancestors, aloud or in your heart. You are the revival. The old ways are not lost. They live in you, in your rituals, your garden, your breath, your longing. To walk the Celtic path today is not to wear a costume of the past. It is to breathe new life into something timeless. You are not imitating the ancients. You are answering the same call they once heard. Listen to the land. Honour the unseen. Live with beauty and meaning. We are with you. The other world is not far, only a breath away and just sideways from where you stand. What is the other world? In Celtic spirituality, the other world is not a single place, but a vast and shifting reality that lies just beyond the veil of the physical world. It is a realm of spirits, gods, fae, and ancestors, a landscape of eternal beauty, mystery, and danger, a place of initiation, healing, and inspiration. Not a heaven, but a parallel reality that touches ours at certain moments and places. It is often described as a land of youth and joy, where no one ages or dies, where trees bear fruit year-round, where music and light are alive with soul. But beware, it is not all gentle. The otherworld is sacred, not tame. Names and realms of the otherworld. There are many faces to the otherworld, depending on tribe and tradition. Some of the most known include Tir na Nog, the land of youth ruled by the Tuatha De Danann, a place of eternal beauty and love, often reached by sea, swan or sithee mounds. Entrances appear at sunset, lake surfaces or in dreams. Tir fa Thuin, land beneath the waves, an otherworld under the ocean, associated with Manannán mac Lir, god of the sea and gatekeeper of the realms, reached by boat or vision, often during great emotional shifts. Hapsid, fairy mounds, hollow hills that are portals to the otherworld, home of the folk, sites of seasonal crossings, especially at Samhain and Beltane. Tech Duin, House of Don, realm of the dead, associated with the first ancestor, sometimes seen as a stop between death and rebirth, said to be located on a rocky island off Ireland's coast. The otherworld was never far. It could be entered through sacred wells, stone circles, ancient trees, dreams, trance, or deep ritual. Who are the Fae? The pronounced Ishi, often called the Fae, fairy folk, or the good people, are not the tiny winged creatures of children's tales. In Celtic tradition, they are powerful spirits of the land, descendants of the Tuatha De Danann, guardians, tricksters, healers, or challengers, beings who live in the city but may walk among humans unseen. They may appear, glorious and shining, clothed in silver and green, as animals, winds, shadows, or song, as travellers, beggars, or lone wanderers. They are known to protect wild places, guard sacred knowledge, and respond to human behaviour with care or consequence. Fae etiquette and warnings. Interacting with the Fae requires respect, not fear, but also not naivete. Some important rules of Fae interaction. Never say thank you. It implies superiority. Say I honour you or offer something in return. Never take without asking whether a flower or a stone. Never break a promise, even a whispered one. Do not enter fairy rings or circles of mushrooms lightly. Leave offerings in quiet places. Milk, honey, shiny coins, poetry. The Fae are not evil, they are other. They operate by their own laws, and to walk in their realm is to walk in a liminal dream. Dreams, trance, and otherworld travel. The Celts believed that dreams and visions were doorways to the otherworld. Poets and seers would enter ritual sleep to receive visions, gaze into water, coals, or shimmering surfaces, use drumming, chanting, or silence to shift consciousness, consume sacred herbs with caution and guidance. In these altered states, they could visit gods or spirits, heal deep soul wounds, retrieve wisdom, speak with the dead, witness future or ancestral events. These journeys were not fantasy. They were acts of sacred retrieval. The thin times and thin places. Some times and places are naturally closer to the other world. These are called thin times and thin places. Thin times. Samhain Oct 31, the dead walk and veils fall. Beltane May 1, life and fey magic rise. Lunar eclipses, solstices and equinoxes, times of grief, birth or initiation. Thin places. Stone circles, fairy mounds and caves, wells and springs, twilight or mist-covered woods, your own dreams or rituals. To sit quietly in these places and times with heart open and ego hushed is to feel the pulse of the other world echo through your own. The other world in daily life. You don't need to leave your home to touch the other world. It moves through this world just beneath the surface. You might feel it. When a sudden wind stirs the trees in answer to your thought, when you're gifted a strange feather, stone or message, when a dream lingers more real than waking, when you stand in silence and feel watched but not harmed. To live in harmony with the other world is to walk with reverence, honour the unseen, leave room for mystery, protect wild places, live as if all life is alive and aware, because it is. You are the portal. In truth, the greatest gateway to the other world is within you. Your intuition, your dreams, your rituals, your heart. The other world does not ask you to believe in it. It asks you to remember it, to trust the part of you that still walks in both worlds. You are not separate. You are the bridge. You are the walker between worlds. And the path is waiting. They are not distant kings in the sky. They are kin. They walk in your rivers, your dreams, your blood. The nature of Celtic deities. Celtic gods and goddesses are not detached creators ruling from afar. They are intimately woven into the land, the weather, the animals, and the stories of the people. They are spirits of place and element, embodiments of natural forces and human archetypes, deities who are immanent, wild, poetic, and complex. They are not perfect. They laugh, fight, mourn, and change. They teach through myth and symbol, not commandments. And often they are shapeshifters, moving between roles, lover, warrior, river, crow. To honour them is to live in right relationship with the world they animate.
Are pantheons and peoples?
There was no single unified Celtic religion. Different tribes and regions had their own deities, customs, and sacred stories. But across Celtic lands, Ireland, Wales, Scotland, Gaul, and Britain, many divine figures echo one another in themes and archetypes. Let us meet some of the most honoured and beloved. Goddesses of the Celts. Brigid, goddess of fire, healing, poetry, fertility, smithcraft. Flame, forge, white swan, spring. Sacred time. Imbolc, Feb 1 to 2. One of the most enduring goddesses, Brigid bridges the worlds of hearth and forge, healing and creation. She is the sacred midwife of spring, the inspiration behind every poem, and the flame on the altar of the soul. Later venerated as Saint Brigid, her worship never truly ended. Devotion today: keep a candle lit, offer herbs, write poems in her honour. The Morrigan, goddess of battle, prophecy, sovereignty, fate, transformation. Symbols: crow, blood, river, sword, fog. Forms: maiden, mother, crone, often all three. The Morrigan is not simply a goddess of war. She is the great shapeshifter, the voice of fate, the guardian of thresholds. She teaches sovereignty, power, and death's necessary place in the spiral of life. She appears at dusk, on battlefields, or when deep change is near. Devotion today: offer dark berries, water, or blood-red cloth. Work with her in times of rebirth or fierce protection.
Ireland, goddess of...
The Riverboyne, knowledge, inspiration. Symbols: river, salmon. White cow Boan is a river goddess whose sacred waters bring vision and poetic insight. She defied taboo and approached the well of Sagais, awakening the river's wisdom. She reminds us that seeking truth requires risk. Devotion today: meditate by running water, right near rivers, honour the wisdom of flow.
Epona,
Gaul Britain, goddess of horses, fertility, the land dreams. Symbols: horse, cornucopia. Mare and foal Epona was unique among Celtic goddesses in that she was honoured across the Roman Empire, even by soldiers. She embodies strength, travel, abundance, and the deep dreamlike bond between horse and human. Devotion today: offer apples, braid horsehair, or dream with her before journeys. Gods of the Celts:
Luke Lamford,
Ireland, god of light, skill, oath, war, crafts, justice. Symbols: spear, sun, ravens, lightning. Festival: Lugnasav. Lug is the bright one, the many-skilled, the god of both battle and art. He is clever, radiant, loyal, and powerful. It was Lug who defeated the tyrant Balor and brought their law and brought the light of skill to his people. Devotion today: light a golden candle, practice your craft, speak oaths with care. Maclear, Ireland Anne, god of sea, the other world, weather, magic, travel. Symbols: cloak of mists, horses, boat, silver branch. Mananan is the mystic mariner, the otherworld ferryman, and the keeper of illusion. He governs mists and transitions, guarding the realms beyond the veil. He is gentle yet unpredictable, a perfect guide for dreamers and seers. Devotion today: leave seawater on your altar, gaze into fog, ask him for guidance before dream journeys. Gobnu, god of smithcraft, brewing, creation, protection. Symbols: hammer, forge, cauldron. Goibnu is one of the divine craftsmen of the Tuatha De Danann. He forged weapons that never missed, tools that never failed, and brewed the ale of immortality. He embodies the transformational fire of creation. Devotion today: honour your tools, light a flame, give thanks when working with your hands. Gaul Britain, god of wild nature, fertility, animals, life, death cycle. Symbols: antlers, talk, serpent, stag. Cernunnos is the lord of the wild, guardian of forest and beast, seen seated in stillness with antlers rising like trees. He represents the primal nature of life and death. He is deeply associated with balance, animal kinship, and natural wisdom. Devotion today: walk barefoot in forest, sit in silence, honour roadkill or bones found in nature. The Dagda, god of abundance, protection, strength, music, fertility. Symbols: great club, cauldron, harp, earth. The Dagda is the good god, not morally good, but good at all things. He is a powerful protector, joyful lover, wise elder, and generous provider. He makes the land fruitful and restores balance through strength and kindness. Devotion today: pour out ale or porridge, laugh heartily, nourish others.
honouring the divine today.
Celtic spirituality invites you to meet the divine through relationship, not fear. You don't worship them in hierarchy. You honour them as kin, allies, mentors, mirrors. You can build an altar with their symbols, light candles on their sacred days, tell their stories, walk with them in ritual and meditation, ask them to walk with you and listen in return. Some may feel called to one deity for life. Others walk with many, seasonally or intuitively. All are valid. What matters is reverence, honesty, and reciprocity. The gods are still speaking. The Celtic gods are not relics of a forgotten world. They are alive in the land, the storm, the forge, the well, the poem, the dream. They walk with us when we remember to walk with intention and heart. They do not demand temples. They ask you to make your life a temple through kindness, courage, craft, and curiosity. You carry ancient memory beneath your skin, and the land remembers you, even when you forget yourself. To walk a Celtic path is not only to study gods or myths, it is to reweave yourself into belonging. This belonging can be cultural, ancestral, spiritual, or soul deep. For many of us today, that sense of rootedness was lost through colonization, displacement, forgetting, shame, forced religious conversion, modern disconnection from the land and its spirits. But the thread is not severed. It is merely buried under layers of forgetting. And now you are called to dig with care, love, and truth. 1. Ancestral lineage, blood and beyond. Whether you know your full family tree or not, you come from a line of survivors, of herbalists, warriors, weavers, farmers, dreamers. Your ancestors may include Celtic tribes, Irish, Welsh, Scottish, Breton, Galician, etc., other indigenous European lineages, people outside of Europe who held earth-honouring practices. You do not need to be purely Celtic to walk this path with integrity, but you are called to walk with awareness and care. Ways to begin. Explore your family names, regions, oral histories. Create an ancestor altar, even with unknowns. Speak aloud to your ancestors. Ask them to guide your journey. Research cultural practices from your known heritage. Blood is one thread, spirit is another. Some people feel a soul resonance with Celtic ways, even if they weren't raised in them. This too is valid when held with reverence, humility, and listening. 2. Spirit of place, honouring the land you stand on. You may live far from Celtic lands, yet the land you are on now is sacred too. Every patch of earth has its own, spirits and memory, waters and winds, stories and wounds. To honour the Celtic path is also to honour the land beneath your feet and those who were there before you. Ask yourself, whose land am I on? What trees, animals, rivers live here? What does this land need? How can I listen? Leave offerings to the land spirits, learn native plants and waters. Honour local indigenous peoples, their stories and rights. Be in right relationship with where you are. This is also Celtic in spirit.
3. Soul memory.
What you already carry. Sometimes remembrance comes not from books, but from dreams, gut feelings, emotions when hearing old music, knowing how to do something you've never learned, being drawn to a certain god, stone, or word. These are your soul threads, ancestral, spiritual, emotional, they are alive. You may have a soul contract with certain spirits or deities. You may have walked these lands before. Your body knows more than your mind remembers. Keep a journal of your inner Celtic memories, dreams, signs, past life fragments. Trust what arises, even if it makes no logical sense. Sit by trees or streams and ask, what do I remember? 4. Rituals of reclaiming. To reclaim your roots, you may wish to perform simple but powerful rites. The reconnection offering. Place your bare hands on the earth and say, I return, I remember, I release all shame and call back what was mine before. I walk forward with truth, respect and listening. May my ancestors walk with me. May this land know me in peace. Leave a small offering, water, flower, breath. Naming the forgotten, write down the names you know, family names, places, ancient tribes, speak them aloud, then say, to those whose names I do not yet know, I honour you too. To the ones who were silenced, I hear you. To the stories hidden in my bones, come forward. Light a candle in a quiet place. As it burns, speak to your people. You who held the seeds before me, guide my hands now. You who sang the old songs, may your voice rise in mine. You who knew the land and the stars, I walk your path with care. Let the candle burn completely. Feel what arises in the stillness. You are the thread returned. Reclaiming your Celtic roots is not about claiming identity for pride or power. It is about belonging, listening, weaving something whole from something broken. You are not here to recreate the past. You are here to live it forward, in beauty, in truth, in connection. Whether you come to this path by blood, by place, or by soul, the sacred thread has found you. Hold it gently. Walk with honor, and remember, you were never truly disconnected, only asleep. You are awake now. You do not need to be ancient to walk an ancient path. You need only to be present, open, and true. Why build a personal practice? To walk a Celtic path is not about copying rituals from the pit. It is about living in harmony with the land, the seasons, your ancestors, your intuition. Your practice should nourish your soul, reflect your truth, and evolve as you grow. There is no one way, only your way done with heart. Elements of a living Celtic practice. Let's explore key elements to shape your daily, weekly, or seasonal path. 1. Daily devotion, touching the sacred each day. You don't need to do something big every day, but touching the sacred regularly builds connection, rhythm, and inner peace. Here are gentle, powerful daily practices. Light a candle each morning and say a simple prayer. I greet this day in peace and purpose. May the gods and spirits walk with me.
Speak to the land, even from a window.
Blessed be this earth, this tree, this sky. Offer water to a plant or the land as a morning libation. Stir your tea or coffee with intention, whispering, may this nourish my body and spirit. End your day in gratitude with a simple bow or whisper, I give thanks for this day, and I release what is not mine to carry. Even 3 minutes is enough. Let it become a rhythm, not a chore. 2. Weekly or seasonal ritual. Choose one day per week or month for deeper practice. This can include reading or telling Celtic myths, sitting in stillness with tree, fire, or stone, journaling about your dreams or insights, pulling an Ogham stave or oracle card, tending your altar, walking the land in silence, making offerings to deities or land spirits. At new moons, you might plant intentions. At full moons, release and reflect. During cross-quarter days, Imbolc, Beltane, etc., hold special rituals tied to the Celtic wheel. Let your body feel the seasons. Let your soul mark the shift.
3.
3. Tools for the path. You don't need fancy items, but sacred tools can help focus your energy and devotion. These can be simple, found, or handmade. Core tools might include candle for fire, focus, deity, light, herbs or sacred plants, mug, rowan, oak, yarrow, etc. Bowl of water for blessing, reflection, feather or bell for air, sound and clarity, stone or wood for grounding, ancestral link, journal for dreams, signs, devotion, Ogham staves or Celtic oracle for divination and insight, and always your breath, your voice, your hands. You are the first altar. Building an altar or sacred space. Your altar doesn't need to be big. A windowsill, corner or shelf will do. Include a candle or light, a bowl of water or earth, symbols of your deities or spirits, photos or names of ancestors, seasonal items, leaves, flowers, stones, fruit, offerings, honey, bread, coins, feathers. Change it with the seasons. Keep it clean. Visit it often. This is your spiritual hearth where the worlds meet. A Celtic path is not all speaking, it's listening to. Dream journal. Record nightly dreams and symbols. Land watching. Observe clouds, birds, water, trees. What do they whisper? Sit at a thin place. A tree, a crossroads, a stream. Listen in stillness. Trance journeys. Drum, hum, or breathe into altered states to meet guides or receive insight. Ask, what do I need to know today? What does the land want me to hear? Which part of me is ready to awaken? 6. Service and right action. Living your practice also means living with integrity and care. To be Celtic is not just to pray, it's to protect the land, feed the hungry, speak truth, share your gifts, honor your ancestors through how you live. Every act of kindness is a ritual. Every word of truth is magic. 7. Community, solitude, and balance. Some walk this path alone, others in groups or circles. Both are sacred. You might join a druid grove or online group, attend seasonal festivals, create your own Celtic moon circle, share stories and dreams with kindred spirits, or simply walk the path in solitude, in quiet, knowing calm. There is no right way, only what aligns with your soul's needs. You are the temple. At the heart of it all, Celtic spirituality teaches this truth. You are the sacred ground. You are the well and the flame. You are the poet, the priestess, the seer, the shrine. Your life is your practice. Your breath is a prayer. Your hands are altars. Walk with reverence, act with love, and let the old ways rise through you. This path does not ask you to be ancient. It asks you to be true.
Ash!
The circle is complete and the spiral continues. In this journey, we have walked through the myths and mysteries of the Celtic peoples, beneath the boles of sacred trees, into the groves and battlefields of the gods, across the thresholds of the otherworld, deep into the soul memory of your own blood and bone. And now we return to the present, richer and more rooted than before. The Celts walked a spiral path, not a straight one. There is no end, only deeper remembering. Only more layers to uncover, only more ways to live with meaning, magic, and connection. What it means to walk the Celtic path today, to follow the Celtic way in the modern world, is not to escape from it, but to bring soul back into it. It means speaking to the land and hearing it answer, honouring your ancestors and story while healing what must be healed, holding both fire and water, grief and joy, wildness and wisdom, living soulfully and purposefully, listening to the whispers of the unseen and not doubting them. It means showing up fully, not just in ritual, but in your work, your family, your creativity, your rest. The Celtic way is not a costume. It is a conversation with the sacred, woven into life itself.
You are the flame bearer now!
The wisdom of the Celts lives on because you are carrying it. Every time you light a candle with intention, whisper to a tree, tell the old stories, practice generosity, weep with the moon, hold silence as sacred, protect the wild places, the path continues through. You are the flame keeper, the threshold walker, the bard of your own becoming. A final blessing for the road ahead. Take a deep breath. Place your hand on your heart. Close your eyes and feel the land beneath you, the ancestors behind you, the stars above you. Now receive this. May the road rise to meet you, and the wind always carry your name gently through the trees. May your roots reach deep and your wings spread wide. May your dreams be visited by gods and your waking be guided by spirit. May you find kinship with stone and river, crow and flame, human and unseen. May your voice become a poem and your hands an offering. And may you walk with beauty, courage and wonder on the ancient path you now carry forward. You are not lost, you are not alone, you are home, and you are part of the old ways now, living and rising anew. Your path from here, you may now choose to build your own grimoire or journal of Celtic wisdom. Mark the wheel of the year in your own way. Study druidry, herbalism, bardic arts, or fey lore. Visit the sacred places of your land and lineage, or simply live more present, kind, aware, and wild-hearted. Whatever you do, do it with soul, and know the ancestors smile when you speak their names with love.
Yeah.
The sacred path is yours now. Thank you, Seeker, for walking this path with such beauty and truth. May your footsteps always echo with the songs of stone, star, and stream, and when the veil grows thin again, I'll meet you at the grove.